Welcome back to it. It is your feel-good breakfast show, Expresso, live on SABC3. You have made the right choice on a Thursday morning. Thank you so much. Time to shift our focus over now from delicious food in the kitchen to something very topical at the moment, COVID-19, which has been known to cause mild symptoms in some people who are infected, but it can also lead to severe illness. And we've seen this, we've read about it as well. The main function of the immune system is to protect the body from infection. However, some people have weakened immune systems, which makes them more prone to, frequent infections. And those who have serious underlying health issues, especially those with weak immune systems brought on by, let's say, HIV and AIDS, are really at an increased risk of getting severely ill. Now, our trusted multimedia health specialist, Dr. Darren Green, he joins us via video call to talk to us through about the COVID-19 for people who are already compromised and whose immune systems, I suppose, may be compromised during this time. Dr. Darren Green, looking good in green. Good morning. Thank you so much for making time this morning.
Morning, Tabs. Morning.
Dr. Darren Green, what are some of the common diseases that compromise your immune system and put you at risk of getting severely sick from COVID-19?
Yes, for sure. So we think about obvious things in our setting like HIV and AIDS syndrome, obviously. So HIV, TB, things like diabetes mellitus, things like hypertension can put you potentially at risk here as well, and it's proven to be quite a big risk factor, actually. Cardiovascular risk factors as well, in terms of having had angina with coronary vessel disease, etc. And then, of course, there are lots of people that suffer from conditions that are autoimmune, where they're on medication that is actually geared at suppressing the immune system over time. So people like that use corticosteroids for long periods of time, asthmatics, for example, people that suffer from lupus, cancer patients on chemotherapy are also another very vulnerable group because their immune systems are also quite low. So quite a spectrum of them, obviously, and things like chronic kidney disease also putting people at risk with a compromised immune system.
Dr. Green, the thing about your immune system, and I think for a lot of people they'll relate to this next question, is you often don't know that your immune system is weak if, for example, you don't have any pre-existing conditions. So what are some of the signs, the symptoms and the warning signs that you may actually indeed have a weak immune system?
Yeah, so getting sick regularly is one of them. Also staying sick for longer periods of time is another. Looking at simple things like, for example, when your immunity is down, you might be more prone to simple things like even cold sores, which is something simple. Because when you run down, obviously, your immune system is delayed in its response to specific viruses, etc. And that can obviously play a massive role in terms of how long you take to respond to a virus. Or a bacteria in this case, so yeah.
And Dr. Green, are some people living with HIV or AIDS more at risk of getting ill?
Yeah, so when it comes to HIV specifically, we look at the different cell types, and CD4 counts are very important. That's one of the type of cells in your immune system that are very responsible in regulating and modulating your response to infection. And those cell counts can drop quite significantly. If you have HIV-AIDS and you're living with HIV-AIDS and you're on ARVs, and you've had a positive response in terms of your CD4 count improving, but also your viral load, being decreased to almost not detectable or absent completely, you must then understand that would put you in the closest possible to normal bracket. So being on treatment and then keeping on treatment and modulating your immune system can get you to a place where you have the best chance against fighting off any opportunistic infections. And the same applies to diabetes. Diabetics with good sugar control obviously have a much better chance of conquering, obviously, this coronavirus. But diabetics that have poor sugar control and have constantly high sugars and have the end organ complications of diabetes are obviously the ones that are more at risk of staying ill and taking a longer time, or even developing the complications of this virus.
And that means someone at home right now who's sitting and watching this, living with HIV or AIDS, needs to definitely pay more attention and extra care in particular. But what are some of the precautions that people who do have weak immune systems, such as those who live with HIV, can take to sort of maximize their chances of staying healthy and to avoid infections? What can they do? How can they help themselves during this time?
As a vulnerable population, just as old people are and the elderly with their compromised immune systems, people living with HIV, people that are diabetics, etc., and all these other conditions that I've mentioned, they need to be meticulous about their hand washing practices, about their physical distancing practices, about their gatherings, etc. They need to be mindful completely of compliance with medication more than anybody else, so that they can actually get their immune systems to baseline, which is the closest, obviously, to fighting it normally. Remember that the immunocompromised patients are the patients that stay sick for a lot longer. They're also the patients, obviously, that develop the complications of the infections that they are vulnerable to, and they are the patients that are at risk of fatality at the end of the day. So whatever you can do, and those measures that I've mentioned, you need to do every day. It's your treat to yourself and your job for yourself.
I love it. It's all on you. Thank you so much, Dr. Darren Green, for joining us this morning. Have a fantastic Thursday. And of course, you heard it from... Thank you, thank you. You heard it from the good doctor himself. It's about really tapping into that knowledge that you do have a compromised immune system and really making sure that you pay attention, you take the precautionary measures that are necessary to make sure that you protect yourself during this time. Amidst all of this chaos caused by COVID-19 on a global scale, let us all remain positive during this time. And remember to take the necessary precautions, and this is for everyone, to protect yourself from the virus by washing your hands for 20 seconds. This is for everyone. Or use an alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Wear a mask in public. It's law. And only leave the house when it is absolutely necessary to do so, because staying at home really does save lives.